Glass represents a bit of the old Google. What do you mean by that?
What it means is that Google is trying something new and adventurous and really Google-like and not copying Facebook.
So, Andreessen says it's going to be magical, transformational. Do you think it's going to be as transformational as some people are saying it will be?
Yeah, Andreessen hasn't made a technology which is not transformational, right? That's his job as the chief cheerleader of the Valley. But I can tell you one thing, though. It is an interesting development in technology. This is where we are headed. Is Google Glass the right product? Who knows? Is Google the right company? Probably, probably not. But I do think that we are all headed in this direction of wearable embedded computing. It is happening, and it will happen at much faster speed than people realize.
The question is, what is going to be the standard way? I mean, Robert Scoble, we both know Scoble, famous, I would say, blogger. He says, "I will never live a day in my life from now on without it." I mean, is there a bit of overhype here, or do you think there will be people who wear these all the time?
So there is on technologies, right? Like all technologies, there is the early enthusiasts, and then there is the rest of the world. That's just the world takes a lot longer to catch up to these technologies, and I think the adoption is going to be much slower than any of the early believers are expecting.
What about the resistance, the privacy implications here?
Well, there is a lot of privacy implications. There's a lot of challenges in like how we as a society come to terms with this technology. See, a lot of the times when things change, they change and are adopted at a much faster speed because they impact just us. Google Glass impacts other people, so there is going to be a resistance to that adoption a little bit longer than most people realize. But I am actually pretty enthusiastic about the possibilities. And clearly I have my reservations, but I do think that this is a good way technology should be heading, because I've always maintained that technology and computing has to be invisible, and I think this is yet another step towards that future.
Okay, let's talk about resistance to something else. Forward US, Mark Zuckerberg's advocacy group. You had some resistance to it when it initially was announced. Now that we know more about the tactics being used here, how do you feel?
I'm even more skeptical of it today than I was a month ago when I wrote my piece. My initial piece was about the focus on immigration and in a very isolated manner, which is like engineering-driven policies, engineering-oriented policies. And I maintain that you can't have an immigration conversation without looking at a much bigger picture, which includes re-education of a large number of Americans, and also what kind of people we would need in this society. Just the engineers may not be the answer. And then there is a whole people, I call them the invisibles, who don't have the Silicon Valley spokespeople watching out for them. So that was my initial concern. But the more time I spend on this, the more I realize that this is another way for Zuckerberg and company to hijack and hack the political system to their own advantage. I personally am very skeptical of their long-term objectives. I think I've always felt a stink of immorality in this group, and I think that's how I feel. What happened today is just another example of that.
The group includes Marissa Mayer, John Doerr, Reid Hoffman. Why are all of these people standing behind him if the tactics are so questionable and the motives are questionable as well?
If you are John Doerr or Marissa Mayer, would you not want to be friends with Mark Zuckerberg and his game plan? As simple as that. I think people who are part of this political action committee need to take a step back and reevaluate what they're signing up for. I think there is not much critical thinking which has gone through the whole process. This is an attempt to plainly hijack the political system. Look at it. Facebook is the world's largest database. They have the database. They can actually pinpoint which way you politically lean and target ads and basically push you into a certain political direction.
You wrote in your post, sorry Mark, but in the age of data, Facebook is Standard Oil and you are Rockefeller. I mean, Those are extreme words.
Yes, I am. I am extremely concerned with this group. I think this is one of the most scariest things we've seen emerge from our part of the world. And the thing is, nobody's ever going to talk about it, mostly because it doesn't fit the narrative. Because it doesn't fit the narrative of supporting Facebook on everything.
You know, these are also very high-profile, high-powered people that nobody wants to get on the wrong side of. You also make a point that you think these people are living in a bubble, which we often get here in Silicon Valley. But why, in this case, do you feel that they're divorced from the real world?
The real world it's going through a lot of pain right now. I think you just need to step out of California and New York and you start to see what I mean by that. I think real world is facing a biggest shift in our lifetime. We are going from an industrial society to a digital society, and we're going to leave tens of millions of people behind. And if we don't work towards making them part of this shift, we will have a bigger societal challenge ahead of us. Forward.us and organizations like that completely gloss over that. Like we can't be good citizens of change and want change and not actually help society change itself. And I think that is what I was pointing to in my post, and I still do. And I think the latest episode with Forward.us is just another example of what I mean. It's like, you know, not paying attention to what the society is going through.